You know those situations where you go and you get a couple friends together and you realize
This is Auto Collabs.
two of your friends have like this connection and something in common and they just like start to talk about it. It's how I feel like people are around me when I meet another Eagles fan. Right?
Oh, that's
And
the
then,
worst.
see, that's the feeling I'm talking about. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go find the mini donuts, right?
Well
Time for me to find.
played.
Well, that's kind of what it's like when the last time I was with Kyle and Nick, and they just started like nerding out over things that I would like nerd out over the Eagles. So I think, I think I unvolunteered myself for this next conversation. Not because I don't like Nick. He's one of my favorite people.
Every time though, it's like I feel you. It's like it reminds me of my first day in the Philippines where everyone was just blah 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 blah. And I was like that.
They're not that bad.
You look at both of them. If Kyle wore glasses, he'd be this guy. He'd be the one that's like
sitting biting on one of the sides.
Well, hey, look,
and Nick would be smoking a pipe, like a cork pipe.
I think I'm just off to go hang out with Nick.
See
All
ya.
right, we'll see you guys later.
Call us when you're done.
All right, Nick. So we're just going to jump right in. I am constantly paying attention to your social profiles right now, whether it be Instagram or LinkedIn or anything like that. Just so you know, I'm following, I'm listening. You are obsessed right now, and I'm going to use that word, and hopefully you're okay with it. You're obsessed with where AI is taking us in like a bunch of different channels, whether that be generative search or AI coding or like anything that AI is doing right now. Was there a moment that you can go back and say, like, I realized in this moment that this was going to be a pivotal shift that we were making culturally, not just in our industry?
Yes. It was November 2023. And I first started using the client-side ChatGPT to do a bunch of marketing work and charge the same amount of money that I was charging specifically before to get like 10 times more work done. And I realized, I was like, this has got a very limited shelf life before everybody else catches on to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was, a time in which I felt like, we've always wanted the, end all be all intelligent solution that knows everything and can do everything. And, even early iterations of AI when it started getting serious, even like Mid-Journey for generating images and ChatGPT for an LLM, like when I started seeing multiple companies and multiple, multimodal pieces of AI start to really get some serious traction, and it be less of a party trick and more, oh, actually this has a real business use.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it really clicked for me.
Yeah, because November 23 was when it was when GPT-3 hit, right?
Yep.
2.5 had been available to some beta users, and then they gave GPT-3. They made that available generally. It wasn't login. There was not even a paywall behind it, if I remember. It was just like generally available as a free application initially. And we realized, like, oh my goodness, like a larger context window, a larger ability for people, like, and it was, I think it was like 16 gigs of data or something like that was all that it was trained on. Is that right? Do you remember what that was?
Oh, it wasn't a huge amount of data, and it was only up until like November 2021 or something like that. So there was like a context window to where it was a definite hard cutoff. So you couldn't ask anything about like current news cycles, about anything predictive.
Didn't
It
have
was
access to
just,
the internet, anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It had no search, but it could synthesize, right? And that was it. It was things could be synthesized with just us interacting with it.
Right.
You know,
So we're less than 3 years from that. We're less than 2 years from that. Golly, it's just over 18 months from when like an LLM was generally available to the public, and the pace at which things are changing now are almost breakneck. It's almost impossible to stay up on. How are you like running a business and staying up on the breakneck pace of this, and also then dragging that back into your business?
yeah, it's difficult, and it takes a lot of experimentation. I mean, I think enabling a lot of people internally to go and spend time exploring and solving problems in different ways. I'll give you a couple of examples. Developers using things like, it starts with using Cursor, and it starts with using, other pieces of software. And for people that don't know what that is, Cursor is it's like ChatGPT for code, right? It's your co-pilot that looks at your code base. You can ask it questions. You can ask it, hey, QA, my new feature here and help me make it better. And you got to realize that a lot of people, it's not just a cultural shift that we have to adopt, and like technology is great and all, but you've got all of these people that are fighting for their jobs. So you've got a lot of people that say, engineers going, oh no, the AI can't do a great job at that. They can't do as good a job as a real engineer, because it'll, hallucinate, and it writes code that we're going to go and, have to go and fix in the future, until they have that point to where they realize they can use it as a tool as well. So internally, with marketing teams, with development teams, with everybody internally, I think the first hurdle that we had to jump through was like a no man left behind approach, right? To where everybody had to realize that they could improve their lives by utilizing AI tools in any capacity. It wasn't there to replace them. It was there for them to solve like 3 months worth of problems in a night.
I almost imagine it's like Google came around, and if there was, I don't know, let's say a marketing manager that was like, Google's here, I'm going to lose my job because now my general manager can search everything that has to do with marketing, right?
Yeah.
Said no marketing manager. And I think that there are elements of job loss out there in the world because of, efficiency or ways of working that are a lot different, whether that be with engineers or others. But by and large, people are leveraging this stuff as a tool as opposed to a replacement. Now maybe that changes over time, but it's definitely a tool to be wielded and used really, really well. I'd like to focus it now on, because you're developing some specific AI uses for end users in the tools that Space Auto is bringing to market. How are you thinking about like guardrails for data and structuring the data so that the AI tools are relevant and useful for someone that's sitting in a showroom or sitting in a BDC or working with a customer, working a deal right now, and not overwhelming them, but giving them access to something that's actually relevant to their job?
Yeah, and unlike the guy that called me out on LinkedIn the other day and just said, "Oh, you just propose everyone just throw all their PII into ChatGPT," just kidding. No, that's just what I'm telling everyone to do nowadays.
Right?
No,
Yeah, of course.
so
Yeah, into the free plans. Right? Yeah.
into the free plans. Give them all your customers' data. Make sure to include socials.
Right.
Side note, I'm not being serious. Just
very not serious here.
Very not serious.
We will not clip that out. I promise.
Yeah, don't clip that. Just take that one clip.
Yeah, right.
So, for us, it's always been about, okay, taking an experience that somebody already needs to go through and taking the monotony and the manual entry out of that. And you think about, why integrated systems exist in the first place. It's like because nobody wants to submit a credit app online and then come to the dealership and do one again, right? So then we have integrations, and we try and solve that with processes. But what we're trying to do is take all of these pain points, and for a long time we've been like, dealerships hate CRMs. Let's be real about it, right?
I
They
think
hate
actually
process.
the population by and large hates CRMs. Like I've never heard like an industry partner rep be like, I love logging into Salesforce. My favorite thing of the whole day. I think like just generalize it,
Let's take dealerships out of the equation. We use HubSpot internally as our CRM, and
Sure.
I love my HubSpot rep to death. But at the end of the day, like, everything's a chore. I mean,
Right.
it really is. Like,
Doesn't
keeping
matter.
up with
Yeah.
tasks. I mean, it's just, and a lot of times it's internal marketing, right? It's like, look, boss, I did all of my stuff for today. I made all of my phone calls and I completed all my tasks, and my KPIs are this.
Right.
But what it's created is extra workload for us. So I take, my approach is take these things that we know have to be done anyway, right? And use AI to automatically give someone a cheat code to getting to the next step without manual input. Because think about this, right? What is slowing us down in devices that we use? It's our stupid little fingers, whether it's on a keyboard or a mobile device. Like, we've still got to go through user experience, and we've still got to load the deal, and we've still got to set the appointment. So I just take things like that. Like, okay, I'm on the phone with the customer, and we have AI transcribing the call, and the customer says, I'm going to be there tomorrow to look at that, Ford F-150. See you then. There is no reason we do not have the data to automatically set an appointment, automatically set it in the CRM, log it in there, make a note in the CRM, send an appointment confirmation to the customer. All of these things, they get done manually right now. So there's no reason that we can't. So I'm just giving one example.
We'll call it like, they hopefully get done manually.
Well, they hopefully get done manually, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what you take is you take jobs to be done that you want to be done in a really efficient way, and you want to be done in a way that is that takes some of the pain out of the manual input, and just give us the time back in the day again. And whether that's background agents doing admin work in the CRM, or it's to do with sales and marketing, whatever that approach is, we're just looking at the jobs that need to be done in a dealership regardless, and seeing if we can take some of the pain out of having to manually do it. Because I think in technology in general, we have now reached the pinnacle of what we can do with classic computing and manual input. Right, that's it. The next phase of that is, well, what can we do without manual input, just from the data that we have?
Yeah, it's almost as if we've developed so much so quickly that we now, also I think just like the volume of things that we are personally asking ourselves to do in a day, and that our devices and our digital interfaces are asking us to commit to on a day, right? Like, just think about the number of emails, the number of tasks you have in the CRM, the number of distractions, like the inundation of required task load on an individual's brain is so high. And it's because of this speed of development. Oh, anybody can spin up an app. Oh, anybody can spin up a website. Oh, I need to buy this. I need to buy that. I need to communicate with this person. I have a text, a WhatsApp, and an email that I've got to communicate with. And so it's like, okay, now we have to figure out systems and processes to get the lower level things handled so that we can do the higher level, interpersonal tasks at a much greater percentage of our day, right?
Yeah, and spend our time doing the things that actually matter. Because I think that's, for anybody, whether you're in a leadership position or not, it's the general manager manually signing checks on a Friday, that has to do that, or someone that is, manually going out and, checking and, sending a text to confirm every appointment. Like, yeah, there's a lot of these things that we've just become executors of tasks and processes that and it gives us anxiety. I mean, I look at my notes,
for
my
sure.
text and my emails and my CRM and I've got to follow up with Kyle because he needs some notes for all of that it causes people to try and like efficiency hack, I guess. But the one true efficiency hack for me is to not actually have to do that in the first place,
Right. Yeah. Yep. I want to go back to we started a conversation, or maybe it got started for us back on a podcast that we did, and I think Michael and Paul were with us, but there was this like rabbit trail that we almost went down around whether kind of like any tech, and obviously you're building tech that has more of a one-stop shop feel, but whether the one-stop shop or kind of the bolt-on, API integrated approach is kind of the right way to go. Can you give me a little bit of insight into your thoughts on why you're building one way, and why maybe you see that as the best way for this industry to develop tech?
If I recall, you and I have very potentially different views on this. I think maybe the conversation was steered away because of that. So
maybe. Well, and we can go into that, but I'd love to hear your perspective. And then, I think my perspective is a bit different, but, with some context. So,
yeah, no, and I'd love to hear that too. So I'll give you my quick view of this. So when we say one-stop shop, we're talking centralized infrastructure, right? For me, the number one pain point for any customer experience, and when I say customer, I mean a dealer customer or a dealer themselves, right? Using one of our applications. Any user experience is just unmet expectations. So that's a big frustration when expectations aren't met.
mm-hmm.
So when I have a thought to implement a centralized data structure that has everything, website, your marketing, your deals, your desking, all your SMS, tracking every single phone call, your DMS pulls, like everything, like your real CDP, right? And that's an actual centralized platform. What you're able to do is so much more flexible because you're allowed to activate people and activate tasks and communications with customers or do certain things all across the funnel. And there's a lot of great companies that do some of those things very well and have very great policies when it comes to API integration, and they want to work well with others. In fact, one of our core values at Space Auto is there's room for all of us.
Yeah.
That is a core value, right? Now, you have those companies that is not one of their core values. Right? Hoarding data is their business model, right? So integrating with them is a pain. And then everyone points fingers at each other and says, oh, well, Space Auto can't do that because they don't have access to this data. And at the end of the day, I believe it's the dealer's data, not any vendors.
Right.
And if we can create an experience to where, one, we put all of that data in the dealer's hands and they can choose how to activate it, and two, you've got that instant connection, and you got to realize I'm building AI. So what does AI need? It needs the most
data.
Context, structured, one source of truth data. That means if you call me after and then you tell me, hey, I'm going to be there tomorrow to look at the Ford F-150, and then you come onto my website and you put in a lead on the new Chevy Corvette instead, I need to have the context all of the context to be able to do a really good job. That's why my view is one-stop shop, as you call it. I think of it as centralized infrastructure where we're happy to play with others. But in order for me to do that, it's like your lobes in your brain, right? You can't have your sight be disconnected from your muscle memory and what causes your limbs to move, right? Because then things are just going to be a disaster, right? So we need all of that in one place for it to work. So,
and I think we probably see this in the same way a bit more, but because like my perspective here comes from like trying to gather the troops across the industry a bit is that I agree. Centralized infrastructure, like especially if you're a core tech, you should be able to have a centralized look at the data and the way that you're bringing in it, right? Like if you're a CRM or if you're a website platform or if you are really the CRM and the DMS, if you're one of those two, you should be able to have a data structure that can consume a lot of data and leverage multiple endpoints to house that data and then expose it when authentication is appropriate, right? And this is where, like, I guess my pie in the sky mentality is much more this what you said, like we want to play with others. However, we haven't culturally in our industry built systems and structures in which playing with others is possible, right? Really, really well. There's a few vendors, there's a few out there that can make that happen, right? And maybe it takes these integrations, but like I think about a HubSpot or a Shopify or a Salesforce, like the core infrastructure is built on this app integration, right? It's built on, hey, we're going to, every time we release a new endpoint, it's going to be available on Make and Zapier, right? It's, all those types of things. And so I think if that's able to happen, and I agree, like there are people that are like you should probably build more of the things right now because that doesn't exist, right? So I appreciate what you're doing. I think that it's like it's really hard work also, because when you have to be great at all these disciplines, it's actually really freaking hard, right? But I continue to want to challenge our industry to think like the way these enterprise organizations really think, in the way that they build and systematize their structures for data and APIs and endpoints, so that in the future or now, others can plug into that when authentication is appropriate based on the dealer's wishes, right?
Based on the dealer's wishes. And so you and I agree on that point. So let's talk about ADF-XML, right?
Well, okay.
Standardized.
Correct.
Everybody
there are
agreed
good
on it.
things about ADF-XML.
They're a good thing, but do you know what the good thing about ADF-XML always was? Is that everyone got together and agreed this is the way that we share data.
This is the way.
Nobody's done that for APIs. Nobody's done that for, like, you familiar with like GraphQL?
Yep, very, yeah.
Right? Nobody's done that with a organized schema for automotive to where we can all play nice together.
Right. Yep.
Because everyone's got their different way of doing it, and I can go into that deeper. But
you can go into how one day you'll get a pipe delimited file, and the next day it'll be comma separated, and the files in one column are not an array, and it's just a list item, which further creates new columns in that comma separated environment.
Yeah, and then the whole inventory feed goes down. Yeah, the whole everything. But no, there's
a therapy session after for
Thank you. Oh, I think I've got 3 support tickets in that right now for that. But well, we don't do that. I mean, everything for us is a real-time fetch. And I think it's going to take, and I want to be part of that movement, right? I want to be part of the movement where, like, if I had one wish of the legacy that I could leave on automotive, was that I helped rally the troops to create a centralized API standard. I mean,
For
people are doing it
vehicles
for
and customers.
and deals and
parts.
yeah, vehicles, customers, deals, incentives, packages, F&I products, service
This wouldn't
appointments.
take that long, right?
No, because it's all the same data.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. You know,
We should
you know
just
how
ask
long
GPT.
No, but we got to hold everyone to those standards, and
Right.
I think we got to get every company together and say this is how we all play nice together, just like ADF-XML, right? Even though it is something that is, you know, relatively dated at this point,
If you send a well-structured ADF-XML into any
someone will receive
CRM,
it.
it works, and it
It
parses and it works. Yep.
Yes. And that's what Automotive should be doing. Now, in the meantime, I want to create really badass AI products and be on the precipice of that. So I'm going to consume every piece of data that I can with companies that'll let me, right?
I love it.
Because I want to create an awesome customer experience and an awesome dealer experience as well, because I think that is lacking from some of the legacy systems. But in order for us to do that, someone has to rally the troops from all of these big CRM and DMS companies and say, remember that time that we all got together and did ADF-XML? Well, this is the API version of that. And these are our standards.
All right, one more question. You're looking at the horizon. You're seeing what's on the playing field, where you're moving. You're a visionary. You think about the future. What's that like? What's the shot you're taking for the next 6 to 12 months that maybe is a bit unexpected or is a bit of a long shot that you think is on the horizon, either in our industry or outside of it?
Are we under NDA? No. So
with all of the podcast listeners, everyone
all
just
of the
signed a
podcasts,
NDA.
you're
Yeah.
now verbally under NDA. Texas is a one-party state. So I think the long shot and the thing that I'm actually betting on is not as sexy as people may think. You know, everyone's like really focused on things like you know, AI BDC voice agents and stuff like that right now. I think background agents that just run tasks, clean data. You are texting a customer. They said, hey, my name's not Nicholas, it's Nick. Background agents updating that in the CRM. You're saying I'm going to be there for an appointment tomorrow. Background agents adding that, you know, to your appointments for tomorrow, sending out the email automatically. You're looking for reports. Background agent knows that you're going to need that report. It's doing it. I think what the biggest thing that I think is going to be unexpected is, while everyone's trying to focus on these really cool, you know, I'm even doing it with, like, you know, AI help desks, right? Where you're talking to a person, right? And we're all doing experimenting with those things. I think the silent and not so obvious real life example in the next 6 to 12 months is fully deployable agents that are working in the background to, like, do everything from clean up your financial statements to admin work in your CRM to, you know, setting appointments. Like I said, it's all of the things that we are manually having to do right now, like reconciling bank statements and things like that. Like we can fix those kind of problems, not just in automotive, or I'm not even talking about my product here, just talking broad horizons of AI in general. Background agents, that's going to be the biggest winner.
Monotony will be replaced by background agents. I like it. It's a good call. Well, Nick, always fun hanging out with you. Thanks for having a little bit of a chat today.
I just got to get this off my chest. I love the way Nick says "da'a."
It's beautiful. It's magical.
says
Yeah.
the
It's kind
da'a.
of frustrating, actually.
Does he
how
say
wonderful it is.
da'a or da'a?
I hear da'a. Like, how do you
Da'a.
spell that? I spell it DA''A.
Well, my question is, in school, how do they teach the children what the letter T sounds like?
They don't. It's
They're like, oh, that's just a
like,
word
"Just do this."
that's a letter we put in there when we want you to keep your mouth open for an extra beat.
just
Da'a,
you
right?
know.
It's just
I
sorry,
love
Nick.
it. I
Sorry,
love
Nick.
it.
We love your accent. Whenever you're
We
around,
love your
I feel
Here's the thing.
smarter.
I do think, and this is the conversation that, you know, we obviously had, we went a lot of different places, but I think one of the core tenets of what Nick and I both believe is that this data ecosystem in auto needs a home base. It needs someone to say like, hey, this is what a customer record looks like. This is what a vehicle record looks like. This is what a parts record looks like, so that we all are at least able to plug into that standard. And until we do that, like, it's going to continually be hard to integrate.
There you go. You said it. Nothing
Well-
gets me going like a standardized API schema.
Yeah.
Look at
Well, hey,
Kyle.
we hope you enjoyed this lecture on API schemas presented by Kyle
And the pronunciation of the word da'a.
Nick Askew in the pronunciation of da'a. On behalf of myself, Michael Cirillo, Paul J. Daly, and Kyle Mountsier, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Auto Collabs.
Nerds. Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?